As global tensions rise and economies fluctuate, many countries are tightening their borders and expelling immigrants at unprecedented rates. From economic struggles to political pressure, the reasons behind these mass deportations are varied and complex. Today, we're counting down the top 10 countries that are kicking out immigrants in 2025. You might be surprised by some of the nations on this list, as policies shift and governments react to changing times. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more content like these. Let's dive in and see who's making the headlines this year. Number 10. Italy. Italy has intensified its immigration policies in recent years, making it more difficult for undocumented immigrants to stay. The government has increased deportations, especially in regions where economic challenges are pushing for stricter controls. Italy's response to the influx of migrants crossing the Mediterranean has led to major political and social changes. Italy has ramped up deportations of undocumented immigrants, particularly those who entered the country illegally via the Mediterranean. The government has introduced fast-track deportation processes, making it harder for immigrants to appeal decisions. Many are being sent back to their countries of origin or third-party nations. Asylum seekers now face more stringent requirements, with fewer being granted refugee status. Italy has adopted a tougher stance, scrutinizing applications more thoroughly and deporting those who do not meet the tightened criteria. This shift has made it increasingly difficult for asylum seekers to find protection. Italy has bolstered its border security by working with neighboring countries to block entry routes for migrants. The use of naval patrols and international agreements has contributed to a sharp decline in new arrivals. These measures aim to reduce the pressure on Italy's immigration system. Rising anti-immigrant sentiment has fueled political movements pushing for stricter policies. Protests and demonstrations against illegal immigration have become more common, adding pressure on the government to act. This public outcry has played a significant role in shaping Italy's current approach to immigration. Italy's increased deportations and tightening of asylum policies have made it a tough place for immigrants to stay in 2024. The combination of public pressure and political action is driving a hardline stance on immigration. Number 9. Denmark. Denmark has taken one of the hardest lines on immigration in Europe, with policies aimed at reducing the number of non-Western immigrants. The Danish government is pushing to repatriate immigrants, even those who have lived in the country for years. Strict integration laws are making life harder for immigrants trying to settle. Denmark has introduced programs that offer financial incentives to immigrants who voluntarily return to their home countries. These programs target immigrants who have struggled to integrate into Danish society or who no longer qualify for residence. Many immigrants, especially from non-European countries, are being encouraged to leave. Denmark has made it increasingly difficult for immigrants to obtain permanent residency. Stricter language requirements, employment conditions, and integration tests are now in place, leading to many immigrants failing to qualify for continued stay. This has resulted in a growing number of deportations. The Danish government is particularly focused on reducing the number of immigrants from non-Western countries. Policies have been designed to limit the influx of people from places like the Middle East and Africa, emphasizing a preference for European immigrants. This selective approach has caused tension within the country. Denmark has made it harder for immigrants to bring family members into the country through reunification programs. Applicants must meet strict financial and housing requirements, which many cannot fulfill. This has further complicated the process for immigrants hoping to settle long-term in Denmark. Denmark's stringent immigration policies and focus on repatriation are pushing many immigrants out of the country in 2024. The government's tough stance, particularly on non-Western immigrants, continues to drive controversy. Number 8. United States. The United States has long been a destination for immigrants, but recent years have seen a sharp rise in deportations and tighter immigration controls. The U.S. government is taking a firm stance on undocumented immigrants, particularly in light of growing political debates on border security. The U.S. has significantly increased border patrol efforts, especially along the southern border with Mexico. This has resulted in a higher number of arrests and deportations of undocumented immigrants attempting to enter the country. The aim is to reduce illegal immigration and tighten national security. The government has stepped up immigration raids on workplaces employing undocumented immigrants. This tactic is designed to crack down on businesses that hire illegal workers and discourage immigrants from overstaying their visas. Many undocumented immigrants have been deported as a result of these raids. The U.S. has made it more difficult for asylum seekers to enter and remain in the country. The introduction of safe third country agreements and restrictions on asylum qualifications have led to a significant increase in deportations. Immigrants who do not meet the new criteria are often sent back to their home countries. In recent years, the U.S. has deported many immigrants who have lived in the country for decades but lack legal status. These individuals, who may have established deep roots in the U.S., are being targeted under stricter enforcement policies. Their deportations have sparked debates about fairness and human rights. The U.S.'s aggressive stance on deportations and tighter border security are pushing immigrants out in larger numbers than ever in 2024. The focus on undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers has sparked major political debates across the nation. Number 7. France. France has seen a surge in deportations as it grapples with immigration challenges, particularly in the wake of rising anti-immigrant sentiment. The government has introduced stricter measures to limit immigration and increase deportations of those deemed illegal or unintegrated. France has stepped up immigration enforcement, particularly in urban areas with high immigrant populations. The government is focusing on removing individuals without proper documentation, leading to a sharp rise in deportations. This approach has drawn both support and criticism from various political groups. France has made it more difficult for asylum seekers to obtain refugee status, resulting in more rejections and deportations. The government argues that many applicants are economic migrants rather than genuine refugees. This shift has led to a significant number of asylum seekers being sent back to their countries of origin. France has reinforced its border security, particularly with neighboring countries, to curb the entry of undocumented immigrants. This has made it harder for immigrants to cross into France without proper documentation, and those caught face immediate deportation. The focus is on preventing illegal immigration at its source. Rising anti-immigrant sentiment in France has pushed the government to take a harder line. Right-wing political parties have capitalized on public fear, calling for even stricter immigration controls. This growing sentiment has led to greater political pressure to kick out immigrants. France's increased deportations and anti-immigration sentiment have made it one of the toughest countries for immigrants to settle in 2024. Number 6. Australia. Australia has long had strict immigration policies, but 2024 has seen the country ramp up efforts to remove immigrants, particularly those who arrived illegally or overstayed their visas. The Australian government's firm stance on border protection continues to shape its immigration policies. Australia's policy of using offshore detention centers for immigrants trying to enter illegally remains in place. These centers, located in places like Nauru in Papua New Guinea, serve as holding areas for immigrants awaiting deportation. Australia's use of these centers has been widely criticized, but they are a cornerstone of its immigration policy. Australia has taken a hardline approach to immigrants who have overstayed their visas. Increased enforcement measures have led to a higher number of deportations of those who remain in the country without valid permits. The government is focusing on quickly identifying and removing visa violators. Australia's strict refugee policies have resulted in many asylum seekers being denied entry. The country has limited the number of refugees it accepts and continues to deport those who fail to meet its stringent requirements. This has created a challenging environment for refugees trying to settle in Australia. Many Australians support their government's tough stance on immigration, especially when it comes to border security. Public opinion has largely backed the government's deportation efforts, contributing to the continuation of strict immigration policies. This support has helped maintain the momentum of deportations. Australia's firm border protection policies and public support for deportations have made it a difficult place for immigrants to stay in 2024. Number 5. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has taken a hard stance on foreign workers and undocumented immigrants, leading to widespread deportations. The country's ongoing Saudization efforts aim to prioritize jobs for its citizens while reducing reliance on foreign labor. Saudi Arabia has been deporting thousands of foreign workers who do not have proper documentation or residency permits. This crackdown has targeted those overstaying their visas or working illegally. The country's labor ministry is leading these efforts to reduce the number of undocumented workers. The government's Saudization program aims to replace foreign workers with Saudi nationals in many sectors. This policy has resulted in a significant reduction of work permits for foreign nationals, particularly in industries where locals are encouraged to take jobs. Immigrants without proper permits are being deported in large numbers. Many foreign workers in Saudi Arabia face harsh conditions, including poor wages and treatment. Those who complain or attempt to leave without permission are often subject to deportation. This has created a challenging environment for immigrants working in low-skilled jobs. Saudi Arabia's focus on prioritizing its citizens through the Saudization policy and the harsh crackdown on foreign workers have made it one of the most difficult places for immigrants to live and work in 2024. Number 4. Switzerland. Switzerland, known for its strict immigration policies, has ramped up deportations, particularly of immigrants who have not integrated into society. The Swiss government is increasing efforts to control the number of foreign nationals within its borders. Switzerland has implemented stricter laws regarding the deportation of immigrants who commit crimes, regardless of the severity. Immigrants convicted of crimes can face immediate deportation, even for minor offenses. This has led to a rise in deportation numbers in recent years. Immigrants who do not meet Switzerland's stringent integration standards, including language proficiency and employment requirements, are more likely to face deportation. The government is focusing on ensuring that immigrants contribute to society, and those who fail to do so are at risk of losing their residency. Anti-immigration sentiment is rising in Switzerland, with political parties pushing for even stricter controls. This has resulted in more policies aimed at reducing immigration and increasing deportations, especially of immigrants seen as a burden on the social system. Switzerland's strict deportation policies and rising anti-immigrant sentiment are making it increasingly difficult for immigrants to stay in 2024, especially those who fail to meet integration requirements. Number 3. Turkey. Turkey has become a focal point in the immigration debate due to its position as a gateway between Europe and the Middle East. In 2024, the Turkish government has ramped up deportations as it deals with the challenges of hosting millions of refugees and migrants. Turkey has hosted millions of Syrian refugees for years, but in 2024, the government has begun deporting many back to conflict zones, citing overcrowding and strain on resources. This has drawn international criticism, but Turkey maintains that it can no longer support such a large number of refugees. Turkey's role as a buffer for migrants heading to Europe has put it at odds with the European Union. In response to strained negotiations with the EU, Turkey has begun deporting migrants who had hoped to use Turkey as a gateway to Europe. The government is now taking a tougher stance on those who do not have proper documentation. Turkey's economic struggles have led to a growing push to deport immigrants who are seen as adding to the strain on public services. The government has increased efforts to identify and remove undocumented immigrants, particularly those who are not contributing economically. Turkey's decision to deport Syrian refugees and its tough stance on undocumented immigrants make it a challenging environment for migrants in 2024. Number 2. Japan. Japan has long been known for its strict immigration policies, and 2024 has seen the government take an even firmer stance on removing immigrants. With a strong focus on maintaining cultural homogeneity, Japan continues to deport those who fail to meet its rigorous standards. Japan has one of the lowest asylum approval rates in the world, and 2024 continues this trend. The government is quick to deport asylum seekers who do not meet its strict requirements, leaving many without legal protection. This has drawn criticism from human rights organizations worldwide. Japan has ramped up its efforts to deport undocumented workers, particularly in industries like agriculture and construction. Increased raids and identification checks are leading to more deportations. The focus is on preserving jobs for Japanese citizens amid economic uncertainties. Japan's visa policies have always been tight, but in 2024, the government has made it even more difficult for immigrants to renew or extend their visas. Those who do not meet stringent work and residency requirements face immediate deportation, leading to a rise in removals. Japan's firm stance on immigration and its focus on deporting undocumented workers and asylum seekers make it one of the toughest countries for immigrants in 2024. Number 1. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has become one of the most aggressive countries in Europe when it comes to deporting immigrants, particularly following Brexit. In 2024, the UK's immigration policies have become even stricter, leading to a rise in deportations across the board. Since Brexit, the UK has introduced new immigration rules that have made it much harder for immigrants to stay in the country. The government is focused on removing those who do not meet the new criteria, particularly immigrants from non-EU countries. These stricter rules have led to an increase in deportations. The UK has been criticized for its treatment of asylum seekers, many of whom are being deported back to dangerous countries. The government argues that only genuine refugees should remain, but human rights organizations claim that the UK is failing to offer adequate protection. This has made the UK's asylum system one of the toughest in Europe. The UK's visa requirements have become increasingly difficult to navigate, with more immigrants facing deportation due to minor infractions or failing to meet the new standards. The focus is on ensuring that only those who contribute economically can stay, leaving many immigrants vulnerable to deportation. The UK's post-Brexit immigration policies and aggressive deportation tactics make it the leading country in 2024 for kicking out immigrants. From Italy to the United Kingdom, these countries are tightening their borders and ramping up deportation efforts in 2024. Whether it's due to political pressure, economic strain, or cultural shifts, immigrants in these nations are facing increasing challenges in staying long-term. Which country on this list surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more thought-provoking content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.